transformation to take place. Of course, the apex of the whole thing will be our trip in a couple of weeks to Cherokee, but all of it, the whole month is a theme. So meditation's not just a thing that you do, it's really kind of a mindset. When you learn to be meditative, you learn how to opt out of stress, and you're more conscious of your breathing and all that kind of thing. And you all know that, but we're going to really take it to another level this month, which is why I didn't have a musical artist. We'll have one next month again, but this one's going to be very different, but very next level. So go ahead and, I know I don't have to tell you to be in agreement. You already are. You wouldn't be here. So those of you who are just logging on streaming, we welcome you. I think what we're going to do this month, after I'll play the intro, but I'm going to open with a little meditation, probably about a 5-minute one, if you can give me, Charles, to kind of, I just sort of want to get us all on that wavelength, and then I'm going to teach. I'll say my stuff and announcements, whatever, and then we'll come back with a more substantial one at the end. So in the beginning, I'm giving, Francis said there's a lot of traffic out there, so I'm giving the latecomers a minute to get in, but if you'll just, once we get started, you know the drill, you have to face the hostile people in the lobby. Well, they should have been here on time. All right, we're in agreement. Please remain standing. Hit this if you would.
Good morning, and welcome to Metron. Metron is measure or sphere of influence, and we want to help you find your Metron through motivation, enlightenment, transcendence, renewal, outreach, and networking. Today is your day to find your Metron, and we hope you enjoy the service.
Good morning, Metron people. Give yourselves a hand for being here. Welcome the YouTube people. I love you so much for not just being here in spirit, but actually being here. There's just something about actually being in the same geographical location that takes the synergy to another level, and I know you know that, and thank you. It's I believe it's worth it, and thank you for making the effort to be here today. Let me just go ahead in this atmosphere and speak peace over this month, over your life. Some of you today are in the valley of decision, and I just speak peace to you, to your decision-making abilities, that you choose well, that you choose life. I'm going to say some things. We're going to kill some sacred cows today, taking you out of a total prayer mindset into more meditative mindset, because I think sometimes what we call prayer is really manipulation, and meditation, the idea is to remove the agendas so that what we call the mind of Christ, which is already in us, can manifest. And like the proverb says, the spirit of man is the candle of the Lord. So we're going to find that candle this month. Amen? And so we're going to start with a little meditation today, but give somebody an embrace before you're seated, and then you can sit down. And you know what? Normally I bring the lights down, but I think we're fine. Let's just leave it. Let's just leave it as is, and the way you got the lights set up today, we're trying a new configuration. So, but I think this will be fine. We'll just stay in the continuity of it. But I think you're all developed in this enough that you can just come right in and let's get into it. So if you'll, Charles, if you could start playing me a little music, we're going to start with a kind of a palate cleanser. If you'll kind of sit up straight in your chair, put up both feet on the ground, clear your lap if you can. You don't have to close your eyes, but you probably want to. If you're streaming, you can just do it with us. There's nothing secretive about this. The only reason we dim the light sometimes is for your benefit. It's not that we're trying to hide anything. But as you know, meditation's all about breathing. So let's just start with some breathing exercises. We're going to breathe in through our nose and hold it, and then breathe out through our mouth. When we breathe that way, you bring nitric oxide into your muscles. You oxygenate yourself. lot of times when people are depressed or they don't have clarity or whatever, it really comes down to nothing more than just they're not breathing properly. So bring my music up a little bit, and let's inhale, exhale. See, already with that first breath, I already feel more relaxed. Inhale through the nose, exhale through the mouth. Inhale, exhale. Inhale, hold it, exhale. Just continue being consistent in your breathing. You're coming into a place of peace, the peace of God, what the scriptures call the peace that passes understanding. It's peace that comes from a place that's not derived from mentality. It comes from something deeper. We're calling it the mind of Christ. But let's breathe our way into that. Let's breathe our way into oneness, into wholeness. Whatever craziness you've dealt with this week, I want you to park it outside, leave it outside. You can do it. It's not difficult. You have the mastery over your mind, your emotions, so just remove that, compartmentalize that, deal with your stuff later. Right now, this is about you finding your center, your peace. Stay consistent in your breathing. As I tell you every time, in the scriptures, the word spirit and breath are used interchangeably. Ruach in the Hebrew, pneuma in the Greek. Pneuma is breath. It's where we get root words like pneumonia, that sort of thing. It has to do with the respiratory system. So spirit is breath. Breath is spirit. God breathed creation into existence. Breathing is spiritual. It's not just something that keeps you alive. When you breathe properly, it takes you to a different frequency, a higher frequency. You breathe yourself out of stress. You breathe yourself out of anxiety. Inhale. Exhale. In, out. I'm going to do a little teaching in a moment, but right now you're just getting yourself focused and in sync. All of our spirits are syncing up together. We're breathing together. Removing obstruction so you can receive the word through a clear channel. Speaking peace to you, clarity, peace of mind, serenity, rest, wholeness. Most of you are already there. The rest of you just will your way into it. This isn't difficult. Good. I feel it. I feel your unity. This is going to be a very good month. This is going to be very easy. I feel your oneness. I feel very connected to you right now. I feel like you're connected to each other. You're connected to me. We're connected to spirit. You can just come out of it now. Open your eyes. That was good. Good. All right. Let the rest of everybody in. Come on in. I like that. I like starting off with that. Good. See, that was already worth you getting in that car and driving over here today. Good stuff. Good stuff. Those of you that are just logging on, welcome. Those of you that are coming in, come on and find your place. We ain't mad at you. Just come in and get on the wavelength with us. It's going to be a good month. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful people. Our outreach this month, of course, is the suicide prevention. That's right. We're in a new month. I was thinking this is the fifth Sunday, but you were right, Michelle. You know what you're doing. It's a new month. The reason I was thinking of it is we started watching that series, A Million Little Things. It's interesting because it's about a suicide and how it affects people, and they figure out what happened. I just thought it was very timely what we did last month. But you're right. We're in a new. Well, then let me say it this way. 2 weeks from today, we will not be here. We will be in the mountains with beautiful fall color leaves and nice clear blue skies and low temperatures. It's not going to be too cold. It's not going to be too warm. It's going to be just right. I'm telling you, October still exists somewhere. Ernie and Avery took us to the Atlanta United game yesterday. We walked up there. I told Ken, I said, it wasn't this hot in August. What the heck? Yeah, it was good. We had a good time, and Atlanta United won, and it was a lovely evening. So we are going to Cherokee, North Carolina. I think most of you already have your rooms. If you don't have them by now, you might better find somebody that looks cute and stay in their room because they're going to get snapped up pretty quickly. But Norval Hayes passed away. I may go up to his funeral this week in Cleveland. While I'm there, I might drive up to Cherokee and spy out the. Yeah, that was in 1981. We had a branch of his school here. We rented the Civic Center, and Kenneth Copeland came, and we got all of our students there in one night. That's how I met Rutherford. That's how I met a lot of people that came that night. It was very very special time. But Norval was 91, and he went peacefully. And I've kind of lost contact with him because I'm in a really different place now. But I do honor the people that were part of my journey. And he was an original. I'll give him that. There was nobody like some people you hear, you think, oh, he's like so and so. Nobody was like, they threw the mold away with him. And but anyway, so Ken's on call this week, so I might arrive at Cherokee. I want to secure all the sites and make sure we know, because even Stephen wants to do a fitness class, so I've got to figure out where we can do that. I'm sure I have learned to trust my instincts. I used to say God will make a way. Now I'm like, no, I know what I'm doing, and we'll find it, just like we have done the last two trips. So now that I've said that, as I was saying, which Michelle was right, our outreach this month is the Cherokee Preservation Foundation, and they do a lot of things. I just think it would be good to be in that zone, and they do a lot of things about, especially in that community. I didn't want to just give to a Native American cause. I wanted to specifically give to Cherokee since we're going to the reservation, and they do a lot of good work there. If you've never been to Cherokee, it's interesting because technically reservations have a negative connotation to them, but that's not the way the people in Cherokee view it. They think of it as, I'm talking about the indigenous people there. They believe that it helped preserve their culture. So they don't see it. They're not held there against their will. That's just where their ancestors lived. And if you ever get a chance to see Under These Hills, it talks about the Trail of Tears, which was horrible. I mean, there's no doubt it's a skeleton in America's closet. But it is what it is. And if I felt like we were being exploitative, I wouldn't do this. But I don't feel Cherokee does not have a negative vibe to it. And when you talk to the Native Americans there, they're very. I mean, they've embraced the tourism of it, and they, you know, they put on feathers and do dances because that's what the tourists want. But they, you know, they've made a cottage industry out of it, but there is something very pure about indigenous people's religion. They really didn't bother with the tree of life, the tree of the knowledge of good and evil that much. They kind of just instinctively understood the tree of life, and that's why there was such a connection with nature. And as much as I've loved these beach trips, and there's nothing like the beach, that's for sure. But there is something special about the mountains too, especially this time of year. So this will be. Don't compare it to the previous two. This will be a completely different experience. Sunrise and sunset may not be as visible as it would be out on the beach because you don't have obstruction, but it'll still be very powerful. So that's where we're going on the 20th. If you're not going on the 20th and 21st, don't come here because there will nothing unless there's a movie you want to see. But which, by the way, Stars Born is really good in case you get a chance to see it. And it's not the people keep saying, "Well, I saw the original." No, the original was made in 1937 with Janet Gaynor and Frederick March. And then it was remade as a musical in the 50s with Judy Garland and James Mason. And then, don't tell me she's got a picture of that. And then in the 70s, Streisand did. You know, Streisand actually wanted to make it with Elvis, and he wanted to do it, and Colonel Parker wouldn't let him. Priscilla said she felt like it would have saved his life if he had taken that role. So there's a lot. It's not a happy story, but it's a very powerful story. And what's interesting is the man that Streisand lived with at the time was initially her hairdresser. He became a producer. His name's John Peters, and he must have bought the rights to it because he was listed as the producer for this one. But it was originally going to be Clint Eastwood and Beyonce, but these things kind of take on a life of their own, and Eastwood opted out. So Bradley Cooper, who ain't nothing wrong with Bradley Cooper, come on now. I'll tell you what I love about Bradley Cooper, besides his blue eyes, is we saw him on Broadway, and if you ever see a Broadway show, when you stand outside, the star will come out and maybe sign a couple of playbills as they're making a dash for their car. He came out, and he probably stood there for an hour and took selfies with people. They would hand him their phone, and he patiently went. That really was interesting to me that was that accessible. Yeah. But this is really good, and Lady Gaga was in it. This was his first directorial, and he did a good job with it. There's one song, Willie Nelson's son wrote most of the songs on the soundtrack, which is a very good soundtrack. One of them, I actually want to play it here at Metron because it sounds like us. It's maybe it's time to let the old ways die. Maybe it's time to let the old ways die. It's a really good song about paradigm shift, and it's good. Why am I telling? Oh, I'm telling you that because why was I telling you that we went so late? That's what it was. Thank you. I have several windows open. What I was thinking about, Ken came home and he said, Stars Born's doing a preview tonight. We were going to see it. He had to work. He's had to work late every night this week. I said, it doesn't start till 10:30. And he said, I want to go see it. I said, you won't stay awake? But he did. I was wrong. And he got it. He was up and out at 6 the next morning. But you might have napped a little bit during the day. But anyways, it's a good movie. But the point of all that was, don't come here on the 20th and 21st. Come to Cherokee. Just make a decision to do it. Did you ask them about and they said, be gone. I said, be gone, you have no power here. Now I'm thinking of movies. Our challenge for last week was about I based it on that video that I showed you that Francis had made me aware of, how you can look at beauty that actually translates to heal you. And so I said, show me things that you look at. And this was a collection. But y'all, hashtags are real easy. Like, y'all make this complicated. A hashtag, if you do a hashtag, it puts everything that's on that hashtag, whether it's on Twitter or Instagram or Facebook, it all goes to the same place. So it makes it easier to locate. And it's like a phone number. If you have one letter or digit off, it's not the same hashtag. Y'all, it's 2018. Y'all should know this by now. It's not difficult. Most of y'all are getting this. Some of y'all are like, what the hell is a hashtag? I'm like, y'all, come on now. Y'all go to Metron. Y'all should know what a hashtag is. But, what? No, it's not an edible dish. Anyway, I thought this was a really cool collection of different things that you look at that I really like. This is Charles's kids. I thought that was really sweet. Charles posted that. I know exactly what you mean. There's sometimes when they're not driving you crazy that you could step back and look at them and go, oh, wow, they really are beautiful. And that when they have that moment, many times it's when they're asleep. But I thought this was really good, so I like that you got the concept. What I want to do this week, the challenge is I want to emphasize like juicing and making smoothies, that sort of thing. Just explore a little bit. I need to get something new because I used to use a bullet because those little bullets you get a single serving. I think I'm going to get an actual blender again because you can kind of do more with them. But there's a lot of things you could do. Juicing's a little bit more involved. If you have a juicer, they're more expensive, and there's a lot to that. I'm all in favor of it, but you got to kind of be hardcore to do juicing because you deal with pulp and all that kind of stuff. Blending is what I'd like you to do is if you've got a good recipe or something that's healthy, not banana splits. I start with Haagen-Dazs ice cream. I know that's not. That ain't what I'm talking about. I'm not talking about milkshakes. I'm talking about something. Yeah. Like even with like one thing you have to, if you actually use raw kale, you have to watch it because it gets a little pulpy and whatever. But it does make it easier to take because sometimes just raw kale's. I've eaten it, but it's very much like going out in your front yard and eating grass. It's like I've never eaten grass, but I'm pretty sure this is what it tastes like. But so if you got some recipes, post them with the hashtag, which is that thing, like the pound sign, with YOLYBL 18. That's year of living your best life 18. It's not difficult. If you put the year of living, it will not. It's like a phone number. It's got to be those exact digits. Got it? All right. Let's see. That was everything, I believe. All right. I do want to. We're not just going to meditate. I want to talk about meditation. For many of you, this is going to be a review. But anytime I bring up the topic, I always want to. There are certain things I want to make sure I get that they get said. So if we're ready for podcast people, we'll go ahead and start that. And again, thank you, Charles, rock god of podcasting, for all that you do. Welcome to the Metron Live podcast, coming to you live from Metron in beautiful, historic Midtown Atlanta. Metron people, give the podcast people a hand. Let them know that you're here. This month, we're talking about meditation, and our title specifically is Meditation and Manifesting the Mind of Christ. I want to show you this one scripture in two different translations. It is 1 Corinthians chapter 2, verse 16. This is out of the Mirror translation. I really like this one. I haven't used it that much because it's not on the websites that I use, but it's a good one. And the guy that did this translation is very much about inclusion, and so it's probably the most inclusion-friendly translation that I've read. But the way he posted it is, there is no other basis to teach from but to echo the mind of Christ. He is the mastermind personified within us. What? The mastermind personified within us. Now look, if you go to some of these websites that try to expose false teaching, they will nearly always go for this. Like, watch out for people that teach that Christ is a consciousness. But pardon me, Christ is a consciousness. I mean, I'm not trying to be, strange or different. It's just that Jesus was the man. Christ is the anointing, it's the consciousness. And when Paul talked about now when he said to the Philippians, let this mind be in you, which was also in Christ Jesus, in that one it's actually the word attitude, where he's talking about becoming a servant. But when Paul talks here about the mind of Christ, he's talking about tapping into something very similar to what we talked about a couple of months ago, may the force be with you. You know more than you realize you know. And one reason I want to connect the dots with meditation and the mind of Christ is that I'm not anti-prayer. I believe in prayer. But I'm at a place now, when somebody says, I'm praying for you, I don't always like the vibe that I get from that, because the implication is sometimes I'm wanting you to be what I want you to be. Like, when I've had some people say, I'm praying for you, and I nearly want to say, define your terms. What exactly do you mean? Because a lot of times, now, next Sunday, it's the first time I remember this is falling on a Sunday, would be the 8th anniversary of my coming out. And I had a lot of people from my past who would say, we're praying for you, we're praying for you. And me knowing them, I knew what they meant. They're saying, we're praying that you get through whatever this crazy thing that you think is true, that's not true. And I think, well, prayer for a lot of people is really manipulation. We just passed the year anniversary of passing of my father-in-law, and it came up in my memories. I post a lot of memories because Facebook didn't let me do it for the first 3 or 4 years they were available. So now that they finally decided I can have memories, I love them, because it gives me a point of context to see, this is what was happening 2 years ago, 4 years, whatever. And something came up in memories, I guess this week, where I had it was just hours before Mr. Monty crossed over, and there were so many people on social media saying, we're praying that he makes it, whatever. And I finally said, look, can I just tell everybody, just let him cross over in peace? I know you mean well, but for people that you have emotional connection with, they're sending all these vibes out, and it actually makes it harder for the person to just pass over. And that's why agreement, like sometimes if you'll text me about something and I just say I'm believing for the best, I'm not being dismissive. I'm just saying I'm not exactly sure what I think you should do in this situation, so I'm believing that the best. And that's a very loaded statement. I'm basically saying I trust your maturity, that you know how to run your own life. You're not asking me what I think. You're saying this is what's happening, so I'm believing that you'll know what's best, that God will know what's best, the best thing will happen. I don't have to call a prayer time for that. And I've shared some of these stories before, but in the years past, I saw some weird things happen through prayer. When Debbie and I were married, we were looking to buy a house, and I've told you this story before, but this is. If this was so bizarre, if I didn't see it with my own eyes, I wouldn't have believed it. But we were still in that mindset where, if we'd make a petition. So we sat down, we said, well, what are all the things we want in a house? Now, a lot of people laugh when I say this, but if you've traveled in Beverly Hills or Miami Beach, they have stucco houses that were very popular in the 80s, when this was, that were different bright colors. And when I say pink stucco house, I mean like it's kind of a mauve rose color, but they're beautiful. And so when we used to travel around, I would see those in some of those seaside places, and I said, man, I love the way those pink stucco houses look. So we had made a list of what we wanted, and at the top of it, we want a pink stucco house. In the meantime, and this is how, I don't think she'll mind me saying, this is how I know Valerie back here, because this is when she and Greg we were all married to we were all in different realities at the time. But her ex-husband was the realtor for this one particular house that I don't even know how we found it, but that's how we met Greg and then ultimately Valerie. But it was a lease purchase. And it met all the criteria that we had said we wanted on the inside, but on the outside, it was like this wooden, contemporary, real kind of 70s looking, where they have these extreme modern, corner. It's not a square. It's like, and I like that kind of house, but that's what it was. It wasn't at all what we had wanted on the outside. But it was a good deal, and at the time, a lease purchase actually was more realistic for us. So I remember, laying hands on that house, and I went ahead and claimed it. And I know this isn't really what we said we wanted, but this could be a good deal. A double-minded man is unstable in all of his ways. What I should have said was, this isn't what we wanted. There's no point in us looking. I mean, it may have been just meetings. All these years later, here's Valerie, so maybe that's what it was about. It's your fault. But anyway, we claimed it, and then we ended up not getting it and found out it's not what we really wanted. And then we ended up buying a brick house around the corner from that one that didn't. And at that point, I was like, you know what, whatever. This is a good deal, so we took that. What was weird is one day I was driving home because this house was close to where we ended up living. I look, and there's scaffolding all over this house, and they are applying pink stucco to it. Yeah. And it looked bizarre. I mean, it ruined the house because that house wasn't meant to, the house was supposed to be like a cedar, rough wood house. And all these years later, some years later, they painted it beige because it just looked like a monstrosity. And I remember people griping about it, going, what the hell are they doing, making that house a pink stucco? And I'm like, well, I did that. My bad. And I was even thinking with Norval passing this week, when I ran a branch of, like I said, I ran a branch of his Bible school for 3 years, and we were like hardcore faith people. And one of our students came in one day and said, my dad is supposed to have gallbladder surgery, and I don't want him to have it. Can we stand in faith that he doesn't have the surgery? So it's 110 of us, and we're all like, in the name of Jesus, this gallbladder will not come out. We're praying in tongues, we're doing everything. Well, he goes in for the surgery and nearly died. They said, we've never seen this before, but we could not get that. What's normally a routine surgery, we literally had to blast it out of his body. We could not cut it out. And I remember thinking, uh-oh, we did that, because there's the faith of 110 zealous Bible school students holding that organ in there, and the doctors are trying to do it. So that's why now, if I go visit somebody in the hospital, I just ask, well, what do you want? Guess where I learned that from? From Jesus. Why would Jesus ask a blind man, what do you want? Most people would go, duh, Jesus, he wants to see. You don't know that. You don't know his story. I know people that have said, so-and-so's getting a divorce, we got to pray they get back together. Not necessarily. You don't know. That woman may be being abused behind closed doors, and you don't know that, and because you're imposing your paradigm on them, your prayer has nothing to do with God. It's the power. Prayer has power that has nothing to do with the divine. It has to do with just how strong we are as intentional people. And just story after, like another time, I remember there was, when I worked with my dad, there was an intercessors group that somehow they had decided that the church should buy this. It's still there on I-85. It used to be a Marriott. It's something else now, but it was a kind of not a super tall tower, but it was a tower. And I think at the time they were picking up on the fact my dad had talked about the idea of possibly doing a retirement home. The church, because they had programs back then where HUD would work with faith-based organizations and give you grants, that kind of thing. So he had kind of floated that idea, and this intercessors group had gotten it, and they had sort of picked out this hotel. This would be the perfect place for it. They went out there, and they walked around it 7 times, and they prayed, and they put a picture of it on my dad's door in his office. Well, years later, I left and started Church in the Now. And about a year later, my parents moved to Columbus, and they were there for 21 years. And then somebody came in and basically sold that building, and just the whole thing kind of went awry. And after I heard, I said, whatever happened to the congregation? And they said, well, they're meeting at some hotel up on I-85. I was like, you've got to be kidding me. That intercessors group prayed them to that place, not in the way that they had visualized. So the reason, what's that got to do with meditation? Because I think a lot of prayer is manipulation. It's people imposing their will on you. I remember years ago, this wouldn't even be meaningful to me now, but I was traveling, and I stopped in Nashville, and I went to that Christ Church, is where Dottie Rambo's funeral was. It's a huge church. A lot of country stars go there. And the pastor wasn't even preaching there. I guess I went because it was some guy that I had heard that I actually liked him. And I was sitting up at the balcony. There's probably a couple thousand people there. And he was ministering to leaders and talking about leadership. And it really resonated with me. And he said, if you'd like prayer at the end, if you're a leader who's struggling with some of these things, if you come down, I'd like to pray with you. Well, now it doesn't even matter to me. But at the time I thought, well, I never get prayed for like this. Nobody knows who I am. So I think I'll do that. So I go down the aisle because of what he said. I'm praying for leaders who, it was in response to what he had talked about. Well, one of these counselors gets hold of me and starts trying to get me saved. And he's like, you need to pray this prayer with me. And I want to say, no, I'm saved. I'm here because of what? And he says, no, you need to believe in your heart God raised Jesus from the dead. Finally, I was like, I believe God raised Jesus from the dead. I confess in my mouth He's Lord. Would you please leave me alone so I'm here for this? The guy's up in my face. He had bad breath. And finally I just thought, you know what? I got angry. And I thought, screw this. I just went back to my seat. And I thought, if you're going to pray for people, I didn't mean to say screw. I meant to say, can we edit that out? I said, bump that noise. That's what I actually meant. I forget I'm in the Lord's house. I thought I was at Metron. Anyway, look at y'all going, he says, y'all. I'm keeping it too real. And I remember then saying, note to self, find out what people really want. Because you're praying something that's a totally different wavelength. And if you have a powerful presence, like, I don't think I can make stuff happen everywhere, but I make some stuff happen. I'm not sure exactly where the perimeters are. The word metron means sphere of influence. I don't know where my influence, I don't know how tightly defined it is, but I know I can make something, not everything. Like if somebody calls me from California and says, there's a storm coming, would you pray? I'm like, well, I'll try, but I don't, you know what I mean? It's like I don't, you understand what I'm saying? I feel compassionate for them, but that's not my area. If it's something, like I remember one time, these are all stories I've told you before, when I was living in Covington, I'm watching the news, and they said, on Doppler radar, they said it literally said there is a hurricane heading for Covington. Or tornado heading for Covington. And I looked on the thing, and it said Floyd Street on there. I mean, I saw the thing coming toward my house. And I walked out on my back porch and said, you turn around. I mean, I spoke to that thing, and I promise you, this is no exaggeration, I walked right back in, and the guy said, well, I don't know what to tell you just happened. It seems to have dissipated, and it's not going where they thought it was. Now, I felt passionate about that because that was my house, and I could pray. I'm just telling you, I could pray for it in a way that I can't pray for somebody's house that I don't know. I wish I could tell you that I feel that for everybody, but I don't. That's why you need to learn where your influence is, where your power is. And if you have power, be careful what you say because stuff will happen. I mean, even just something as simple as last night after the game, if you've ever been around Phillips or now at State Farm or Mercedes-Benz, when a game gets out, all those restaurants around there get filled up immediately. I mean, people, it's like ants coming out. So we were going to get something to eat. They went to take us to dinner, so we stopped at Hudson Grill there. It's a nice place. Got an outdoor place to eat. It was slammed. But we said, we're not at any deadline. We'll go. We didn't do any big prayer. We just walked right. I mean, table for how many? 4. You want inside or outside? Outside. We go right to, if I had to pick the table, what table would you want to sit? That was the one right there on the sidewalk. Now, we sat there for a few minutes because it looked like the hostess hadn't let somebody know that we had been seated. So this waiter walked by and said, hey, bud, sorry to bother you, but can we find out if somebody knows we've been seated? And, you know, sometimes waiters, they're like, it's not my problem. He just said, well, it's not my table, but I'll take it. He was a great waiter. Ernie tipped him generously. It was a very nice experience. I'm not trying to take the credit for that, but that is my neighborhood. Do you know what I mean? Like, if it's within a radius of my house, I usually get really good tables. And good things happen. And I don't have to pray for it. It's just, that's what I will to happen. What's that got to do with meditation? Well, you have the mind of Christ. The mind of Christ knows what you already need. And sometimes, hear me, prayer gets in the way of that. Because the mind of Christ is trying to move you in one direction. Have you ever prayed for something that didn't happen and then later you're like, thank God that didn't happen because that's not what I wanted. So what meditation is, I don't think meditation is supposed to replace prayer. I don't want to ever say that prayer's nonsense because I don't believe that. I want to be able to say I'm praying for you. I want to be able to ask you, please pray for me, if I know who you are. There's some people I don't want to ask them to pray because I'm like, I'm not sure what weird mojo you're going to try to put on me. And my kryptonite's probably going to make me invincible from it, but I don't even want you, don't put your weird religious mojo on me. Because I read between the lines, you know, I don't want to be overly sensitive, but like when somebody just even recently said, oh, Bishop, in these pictures, so good to see you smiling again. I'm like, where have you been? I've been smiling for a long time. Smile ain't new. Like, maybe you just figured it out, but I'm in my zone, baby. Like, it's like, this is not, don't worry about, seriously, don't worry about me. But what meditation does is it, ideally, removes the clutter that's in your mind, because sometimes you pray stuff that really is just emotional things that you feel, and sometimes emotion works. I told you about Ray. I can tell Ray's story again. Ray had a heart attack years ago, and it just, I don't want to say pissed me off because I've cussed enough today, but it just made me so mad. I've never prayed this way. I've never prayed and cussed at the same time. I was like, are you freaking kidding me? Ray Muscarello, of all the people that the world would be better without, that if they were going on, I'd be like, there's Jordan, go on. Go to the other side. Not him. Now, I wouldn't advise you to pray that way, but I don't know. Was that 4 years ago, 5 years ago? He's still here. I wish I could say I feel that. I wish I could say I feel that passionate about everybody. I'm just telling you, it's not that I play favorites. It just hit me wrong. I was like, oh, hell no. Not Ray Muscarello. I wish I could tell. I don't have that covenant with everybody. I'm telling you. Don't text me later and go, am I one? Yes, you're here today. I would be that mad if it was you. Yes, Ernie, if it was any of you, I would cuss for you as well. This is the most I've ever cussed on a Sunday. What is happening? Yeah. He didn't just survive it, he thrived. And yes. But what I'm saying is you can't teach that in a prayer seminar. That was a passionate response. It's like when you hear about adrenaline, like of a mother that saves her baby because a car fell on her or something. That's technically prayer because it's this passionate thing it involves adrenaline, endorphins, all these things. It's not this kind of, oh, great. That's just It doesn't mean anything. It's stuff that people do. It's religious. It's what Jesus called vain repetitions. Look, there's a place, some of you that are more advanced in meditation, there's a place for chanting. I don't even have a problem with chanting. Chanting's got its own, I don't think that's weird at all. What I'm talking about is this thing that people call prayer that's not really prayer, and it's kind of a waste of time. Prayer, it can't be defined as any one thing. It's this emotional response that you have. And meditation helps you get in touch with that so that you're just not praying a bunch of surface thoughts that aren't what you really want. I mean, come on, you've been mad at somebody enough for a few minutes you thought, I wish they were dead, but then you don't really think that. That's just your emotions speaking. Yeah, I did. I thought it and I meant. Let me get this down. This is the same scripture in the Jonathan Mitchell New Testament. It says, yet we ourselves are continuously holding or progressively having Christ's mind, a mind which is anointed and which is Christ. Christ, when I say Christ, please don't think of a Jewish man with long hair and a beard and robe and sandals. That's not what I'm talking about. That's not even who Jesus is anymore. That was an incarnation that Jesus, the Christ, walked in for 33 years. That's not even his eternal identity. So when we talk about in the mind of Christ, we're tapping into, in the beginning was the Word. In the beginning was willed action. That's the theologic, the logic of God. And you have it. I'm telling you. That's why I said even about where we're going to meet for everything. I'm like, well, the mind of Christ knows where that is. I might make a trip up there to locate it just so I'll relax myself, but I know we'll find it like we always find it. And I know when I've been talked into things before in the past to pray things, whatever, I had enough creative power I could make it happen, but it wasn't really what I wanted. Once you get all your channels clear, which is what meditation is supposed to do, it's just so much easier to manifest. You know what you want, you speak it out, and it happens. Again, I don't want to make this all about tables, finding tables, but we do eat out a lot. So it's kind of an important thing. Friday night, my mom, something was going. I don't think anything's wrong with the refrigerator. It's so high tech that I think it's on some kind of setting that whatever. Dad he can't do anything at this point, and it frustrates him. So it's just easier for us to go. And when I say us, I mean but I drive him there. So I said, well, we'll come out, but she said, well, go ahead and eat first. And I said, okay, we'll go in that direction. I said, let's get Mexican. I said, you want to go to La Fonda? And I'm telling you, people have been waiting for 3 years to get a parking space at La Fonda on Friday night. Everybody just Ubers there because there's just no place to park. I said, let's go. There's no prayer. It's just like, we need a parking space. We drive up right there in the front. We go up, slam. The place is crowded. Walk upstairs. Perfect table right there on the railing overlooking Ponce. It's just like, you say, well, that's just a table in a restaurant. Yeah, well, there were other people that were waiting a long time that didn't get that. So you can say it's thunder or you can say it's an angel's voice. For us, it's being in the zone. And that's part of the mind of Christ. Knowing, making a decision and not second guessing it and just saying, this is what I'm going to do. And I trust my own instincts. And one thing about becoming mature in the mind of Christ is you get to a place where you stop letting everybody else hijack your desires and telling you what you want. You're just like, no, I know what I want. This is one of the best parts of aging. If you age properly, is you're less susceptible to peer pressure. You know, when you were young, you didn't even know what you liked. People end up doing drugs because somebody that they're impressed with does. They don't really want to. They get, they're impressionable. As you get older, you should have experienced enough stuff to know, no, that's not what I want. I've already had that. I don't want that. Now I know what I want, and I'm clear. And if I'm not clear, again, I'm not throwing prayer under the bus, but I'm not sure prayer brings you this kind of clarity. I really think you just have to empty your mind and breathe and get in touch with something that's deeper than praying up here. Any of you that have ever taken voice lessons, you know there's a way that you sing from your head and there's a way you sing from your diaphragm. I don't know how to explain this, but I've experienced this in running. When I used to run a lot, there's a way that you run from the waist up and there's a way that you run from the waist down. I don't know how to explain it, but it's like sometimes you feel the strength from your legs. Other times you feel it from, I guess maybe it's what you call your core. But that holds true. And like there's so many like surface things and then deep things. And most people are praying up here in their head voice. They're not praying from their diaphragm. If you understand what I'm saying? They don't even know what they really want. Their brain is a jumble of everybody else. This saying, this is what you should do. Look, can I just tell you something? I'm not telling you not to be teachable, but at the end of the day, nobody knows what you should do better than you. Seriously. And even knowing what you want to do doesn't mean everything's going to be perfect. It just means, no, this is the path I've chosen, and I'm going to do it, and I'm not going to second guess it. And there's something about just deciding not to second guess it that makes it work. It's like when somebody says to me, "Oh, I tried your experiment with speaking of the weather. It didn't work." Well, that's why it didn't work, because you're thinking of it as an experiment. To me, it's my reality. This is what's going to happen. And I've already predetermined that I'm going to tell you a good story about it. Like if I don't say anything about it, that just means I got nothing good to say about it. But I'm not going to lie, but I'm going to put a positive spin on it. Because I've already decided it's going to be a positive story. Again, Karen and Ernie and Avery, I don't know if any of the rest of you have been with me on foreign trips, but I've gone to Africa, I've gone to South America, I've gone to the Philippines. I've taken, and always in a big group of people, I've taken a lot of people to other continents. In all those years, the most extreme thing that ever happened is our luggage didn't arrive in Uganda. It was like a day later. And we got free stuff because of it. They opened the store and we got stuff. But I mean, take that many people and nobody got sick. There was no accident. There was no, that's kind of amazing. I know other people, some people very close to me, that every time they went on a trip, it was a disaster. Of course, my first book came from it was an explosion on the plane. So then I got thinking, where's my next book? And the next time I went, we went through one of those gates where they check your security, and Mike Keys passed right through it, and they actually started firing on us with, is it M16? Is that the rifle? Yeah, they did. And this is where my head was at the time. I was really in book writing mode. As they were doing it, I was like, recently, in my head, I'm like, recently I was in the Philippines, and I thought, this is going to be a great story. Yeah, I know. And they ended up, it was fine. And I was like, wait, where's my great story? I guess that is my great story, that we didn't get imprisoned or shot. Maybe that's my great story. I was so used to having good stories that I was thinking, this is going to make a great book. Something's really wrong with my value system. We're being fired on, and I'm thinking, what should be my open? My brain chemistry is different now. All right. Let me show you this quote. And don't let me talk my time away. Stop laughing at my jokes. You're making me talk too long. Dr. Dispenza says this: meditation is a means for you to move beyond your analytical mind so that you can access your subconscious mind. Subconscious, spirit, mind of Christ, same thing. That's crucial, since the subconscious is where all your bad habits and behaviors that you want to change reside. Well, I thought you said it's the mind of Christ. Exactly. The mind of Christ will reveal what needs to change that's rising up into your personality, being manifested. I have another scripture I want to show you. This is 1 John 2:20, and it's in the Amplified Classic. It says, "But you have been anointed by, or you hold a sacred appointment from, or you have been given an unction from the Holy One, and you all know the truth, or you know all things." King James says you have an anointing from the Holy One and you know all things. You know all things. You know all things. You know all things. You are tapped into a mind that knows all things. That doesn't mean that you're going to get the fullness of the mind of Christ, but you can tap into the peace that you need when you need it. I believe that's the reason why Parakletos, the Holy Spirit, is called the helper. It's that helpful part of the mind of Christ that helps you when you need it. This is the same translation, but this is verse 27, 1 John 2. He says, "But as for you, the anointing or the sacred appointment or the unction which you received from him abides permanently in you, so then you have no need that anyone should instruct you." What? I have no need that anyone should. Why did I get up and drive over here today if I didn't need instruction? I'm not instructing you. I'm confirming what you already know. The word educate means to draw out. You already know everything that I'm telling you. Sometimes you forget that you know it, or you don't know that you know it. That's why some things feel familiar. It's like, wow, I feel like I knew that. That's nearly always been my litmus test when I'm wondering if I actually am somebody's pastor. When they'll say, you say things that I've never said it, but I've always thought that. I'm like, you're one of mine. I'm just telling you. And there's other people that could hear me say these same things and go, I don't get it. Stephen was telling me this week we were working out, and he was laughing about all the different stories I tell. He said, you start telling one thing, and then, because it takes some getting used to. Because I'm intentionally not a preacher. I don't want to be a preacher. I like doing what I do just the way that I do it. I'm just telling you. In 46 years, I could have perfected it by now. I never wanted to be a preacher. I come from a long line of good preachers. It's been done. Nothing against them. I want to communicate. And what I have learned is that, especially like something I'm telling you last month, that's a really heavy idea. Like you're telling me I signed up for my life and possibly created it. That's too much. If I don't give you a little laughter along the way, it's too much. It's too much for me to say, oh my God, I don't want to, not everybody had a stellar childhood, but there's some things about childhood that ideally are wonderful. Mainly, that you just don't have that much responsibility. Not everybody had a great childhood, but there's just some things, like, for some reason, Saturday I was watching TV, and I thought, kids today have no idea what Saturday morning used to mean. Because Saturday was like, oh my God. First of all, you don't have to go to school. You get up and there's cartoons. Oh, now there's Cartoon Network. You can watch cartoons. Kids don't realize what a special, wonderful thing that was to eat cereal and watch cartoons and not have to go, you can sit. Oh my God, it was just like the most Saturday doesn't mean, I love Saturdays, but they don't mean that. They just don't, not now. When you were a kid, there was just things that you remember before you were schlepping in a tree to decorate it yourself. It's like all you thought when you were a kid, it was just like, trees are magical. Once you start buying them and putting them up and taking them down, you got to work to find that magic in it. You know what I mean? It's like sometimes it doesn't feel as magical. And if it still does to you, good for you that you've maintained that part of Christmas. A couple of Christmases ago, I got a Fraser fir because I just wanted to smell it. There's the neuropaths in my brain. I love the way Fraser fir. But it was such a nightmare disposing of it. I thought, yeah, I think my inner child is satisfied with that. We're going artificial next year. Because it was great. It was beautiful. Nobody saw it but Ken and me. It was like, boy, we went to a lot of trouble. But it was great. We did it. I had a real tree. Been there, done that, got the T-shirt. But there's just a paradigm shift that you have the more you know. And what was I telling you? Oh, I was talking about how people hear things. Some people heard Jesus teaching the parables and they thought he was just giving a lecture on agriculture because he's talking about planting seeds and harvest, But then other people would hear and go, oh, that was life-changing. Some people could hear what I'm doing today and think, oh, he's so silly. No, I'm telling you very deep things that put total responsibility on you. If I didn't give you a spoonful of sugar to make that medicine go down, it would be overwhelming for me. I'd be like, good God, now that I've taught it, I got to take responsibility for my whole life? Let me can I keep it real with you? A little bit of feeling the victim is kind of cool sometimes. I hate to admit that, but it feels kind of good and human for somebody to go, oh, God, I can't believe what you've been through. Just for a minute. It don't feel that bad. So I get it. I understand why people want to say, all this stuff has happened to me. But I'm telling you, if you don't change that story, and then let me tell you what happened. And then like, oh my God, your story now is running your life. You're not telling your story. Your story is telling you. Your story is revealing you. And you've told it so much now, it's taken on a life of its own so that you've set this thing in motion that it's a self-fulfilling prophecy. So now when the next horrible thing happens, you're like, well, that sounds about right. We're right. Listen to people. I don't want to go around just correcting people's speech all the time because really, unless you get a revelation of it, it doesn't really help when people correct you. You have to get it for yourself. But listen, I'm so keenly aware of people saying things like, well, it would be just my luck for something like that to happen. I hear that so much. Oh, yeah, that kind of thing always happens to us. And I think, oh, my God, you don't even realize you've set it in motion now, and it's on autopilot. You're just waiting for your next disaster, your next disease, your next car wreck, your next divorce, your next thing, because you've said it, and you've said it, and you've said it. It's like it's a wheel. You're not even making it happen anymore. It's making it happen. Because you've spoken this world into existence. And just like God speaks the worlds into existence and it starts rotating and revolving, everything we speak takes on rotation. And it just starts a story. And people don't even realize they're caught up in the gravitational pull of their own story. So I want to say to people, it's not just your luck, it's just your story. It's your creation. Everything, and you look at all those planets that came out of the Big Bang Theory, they're all moving in a circle, they're rotating and revolving. Everything's rotating and revolving. Everything you say, it starts like that. And that's why things seem cyclical. And it can go in your favor. The reason I praise the good stuff is my planets are moving in that direction, so I'm attracting the good stuff. So when somebody says, oh, good stuff always happens to you, I'm like, yeah, it does. And it could happen to you too. It just takes a while. Because I'm going to really extend this metaphor, but I know what it's like to have that planet going in one direction and you have to just move it back. And it doesn't happen overnight. It takes a while of you stopping, telling those negative stories, starting to praise the good stuff. Well, that feels like denial. Well, kind of. It is kind of denying the power of that thing over you. Even to stop explaining. Like if somebody tells you look good, say thank you. Somebody says, you look like you've lost weight. Say thank you. I say thank you even if I haven't lost weight, because I think, well, you must be seeing me in a better incarnation of myself. So my future self is thanking you. I'm about 10 pounds away from where you think I am, but if that's how you see me, good. Thank you. Because if I go, no, I was losing weight, but then I started working out, and then I started eating bad again. I started gaining back. You know, when you get older, your metabolism really slows down. That's real. I mean, one of those, you gain 3 pounds is just saying that. You know, when you get older, your metabolism, and then you... Stop laughing at my jokes. I got to shut up. What's number 6? This is a long quote, but it's really good. This poet, Osho, he's talking about meditation. He said, I'm simply saying that there is a way to be sane. I'm saying that you can get rid of all this insanity created by the past in you just by being a simple witness of your thought processes. It is simply sitting silently, witnessing the thoughts passing before you, just witnessing, not interfering, not even judging, because the moment you judge, you have lost the pure witness. The moment you say, this is good, this is bad, you have already jumped onto the thought process. That is the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. It takes a little time to create a gap between the witness and the mind. Once the gap is there, you are in for a great surprise that you are not the mind, that you are the witness, a watcher. And this process of watching is the very alchemy of real religion. Because as you become more and more deeply rooted in witnessing, thoughts start disappearing. You are, but the mind is utterly empty. That's the moment of enlightenment. That is the moment that you become, for the first time, an unconditioned, sane, really free human being. Can I just tell you this? First of all, I'm Jim Swilley, and I endorse this quote. This is what I've learned about meditation. You don't feel the impact immediately. Like when we get through meditating, you feel calm or whatever, but you don't. It's not like you come out of it with some great revelation. You'll notice it when you start living your life. When a thing happens and you're like, well, you know what? I'm usually upset at this, but this just didn't get me upset. Or somebody says something and you just think, you know, I understand that's how you see reality, but that's not really my reality. And I don't even feel defensive because I understand that's how you see the world, and I'm okay with that. And I have surprised myself several times within the last year thinking, how did that not get to me? That would have really just messed me up. I think, oh, I think I'm experiencing enlightenment. It's like I can even understand. I tell you what's really next level is when somebody comes at you with an accusation or whatever, and you understand why they're wrong, but you understand why they see it that way. And what's really weird is like you're trying to be mad at him, and instead you feel compassion for him. That's the first time you experience it. You're like, what just happened to me? Because I know how to send back the hostile email. As to points 2 and 4 of your letter, I would like to say, no, it's like that's not even in my consciousness now. At all. And if I got one today, I'd be like, you know what? People are evolving and they're at different levels, and this person's at that level, and it is what it is. And then this last one, and then we'll meditate it out. This Amit Ray talks a lot about meditation. He says, if you want to conquer the anxiety of life, live in the moment, live in the breath. You know, there was a time it was very fashionable in charismatic circles to always say, what's God saying to the church? What's God saying to the church? It was interesting yesterday scrolling down my feed because I have conservative and progressive friends on Facebook. And as long as they don't get on my page and start their stuff, I'm like, that's fine. That's what you believe. Fine. It was interesting hearing people read spirituality in the Kavanaugh decision, because they have completely different ideas of God. Because I had conservative friends going, oh, praise God, we've been praying that they put him through. And I have other people on the other side going, this is the devil, this is the end of the world. And I thought, wow, it's amazing that people, and y'all are all seeing God in it. Like, it's really just, I don't see, it's a fact of political life. I don't try to connect the dots with the spiritual, so I'm not looking for, the Trump prophecy or the Obama prophecy. I'm like, no, they're just people that get elected for different perfect storms come along that cause people to get elected at different times. When you start thinking everything's a conspiracy, you start attracting conspiracies to yourself. And this is an extreme statement, but I think you can handle it. I think, why are these fundamentalist Christians so susceptible to conspiracy theories? And I realize their whole theology is a conspiracy theory. Like, everything is, they're fighting this devil that's after them all the time, and it's the end of the world, and they're about to fly away, whatever. So, of course, they're vulnerable to nonsense because they've been conditioned to believe, always suspecting, it's something. It's the Illuminati, it's deep state, it's, the other. Oh, Lord. All right, I'm shutting it down. I didn't mean to go this long. But it was good, though, wasn't it? All right. Let's meditate it. I think all of you have been here, so I don't have to really take you through the drill. But sit up straight. There's good posture is really important. Sometimes even if you're feeling negative or something, just the act of sitting up straight, squaring your shoulders, holding your head up, Doc Sheila could probably explain this. I'm sure she could explain it better than me. But it's like it just that act starts bringing you into some kind of alignment where things flow through you better. So, and the reason I tell you to empty your lap is so that you kind of become a channel. Don't be afraid of words like channels. Nothing's going to possess you. That's silly. Y'all know better than that. There's something about the reason that Hindus use a mudra is there's a scientific reason for it, about points of energy. If that feels too Eastern for you, then go charismatic and do like that. But posture is important. You don't have to close your eyes, but you're probably going to want to. Start me some music. Music takes us to another level. We go to Cherokee, I'm going to be using indigenous flute music, but for our purposes today, we're going to use this. We're going to be conscious of our breathing. Breathe in through your nose. Breathe out through your mouth. In through your nose. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Bring up the music just a little bit. We're going to let the music take us somewhere. There's no wrong way to do this. If your thoughts start moving in another direction, just gently guide them back. Where you want to get is where you're not thinking. That's the idea. Stop thinking so the mind of Christ can be free to manifest itself. And just relax. If you have to cough or whatever, it's fine. You're not bothering anybody. Don't be self-conscious. Just relax. Relax into your body, relax into your skin, into your skeletal frame, relax into your muscles, relax into your identity. You're beautiful just like you are, so accept that. Relax into that. Relax into the age that you are, your gender, your ethnicity. Just accept it all. Don't fight who you are. The mind of Christ flows through authenticity. flows through transparency. When you accept who you are, you see who God is. God is, and you are. That's why the words I am are so powerful. Keep breathing. Stay consistent in your breathing. I'm going to wean you off my voice in a moment. But I'm just guiding you into this meditative state, and then you'll be on your own. The music is beautiful. This is a beautiful moment. Come out of your thoughts and observe them. Don't judge them as good or bad. They just are what they are. The mind of Christ taps you into that part of you that's eternal. That part of you that existed before creation. Let your breath connect you to the eternal you. This manifestation of you in this physical body is temporary. You are more than this. The physical is important, but it's not all that there is. Keep breathing. Transcendence in your breath. Transcendence is not a bad word. It's a beautiful word. You're transcending the physical. You're transcending the mental. Breath and spirit are connected. You're breathing into the spiritual. If you become aware of healing energy flowing through your body, just let it flow. You don't have to feel it. Not everybody will feel it, but if you become aware of it, if you become aware of light flowing through you even to your extremities, flow with it. Don't resist it. Don't resist the light. Don't resist healing. Don't resist the mind of Christ. For some of you, there's reparative work taking place in your emotions. The This may not be applicable to everybody, but for some of you, there's some damage being repaired in your soul, in your memories. Let the healing come into your cells. Let the breath remove negative cell memory that holds you to a previous physicality. Let yourself evolve into something better and healthier and stronger. Your cells want to move you toward the light. They want to move you toward God. Your cells want to move toward the I am. Don't let your thoughts resist it. Just remove your thoughts. Your body wants to heal itself. Your mind wants to let negative memories go. Your heart wants to let go of pain, emotional pain. Just let it float right out of your fingers like a feather floats on the wind. Just the memories just flow. They flow out of you. Like the dandelion when you blow on it and all those little pieces of the flower just fly away. Just let it flow out of you. Hurt is flowing out of you. Pain is flowing out of you. For some of you, death is flowing out of you. Because for whatever reason, your body's been trying to die. Let this meditation reverse it. Move it back toward living. Choose life. Keep breathing. Just be. Put a label on it. Just be. The I am is breathing through you. moment we'll start coming out of it. But just while the music continues to play, just keep your eyes closed. But I just want to make these two observations. David said, "You lead me beside the still waters." Water with movement is beautiful. There's something very powerful and prophetic about the ocean tides, the surf coming in and out. We've explored that. Rivers have a particular energy to them that's very powerful. A lot of message comes from a river. But there's something about still water, whether it's a pond or a lake, when it's perfectly still, and it takes on that mirror image where you can't reflect in moving water, but you reflect in still water. Think about the word reflection and how that resonates to you right now. How that you're seeing your life, you're seeing your past, your present, your future, all reflected before you. You see it in the still water. There's stillness in this place. The other observation, Paul said, "We know not what to pray for as we ought, but the Spirit makes intercession for us with groanings that cannot be uttered." I used to think that meant your prayer language or speaking in tongues, but it couldn't be that, because it says these groanings aren't uttered, they're not said. So the mind of Christ is where you tap into the unutterable, the things that are even beyond words, where God speaks to you spirit to spirit, heart to heart. Words are so important, but there's even a higher consciousness than words. There's even something a higher vibration even than creative words. As you continue to breathe, just contemplate that. Still waters, groanings that cannot be uttered. Just keep breathing. We're going to breathe out of it in a couple of minutes. Let that be a Selah for what I just said. Scripture says, "Be still and know that I am God." I would add to that and say, "Be still and know that you are you." And embrace that. About 5 more breaths, and then we'll open our eyes. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Come back into your consciousness. Open your eyes. We'll bring the lights back up. It's okay. You keep playing it. We'll just play it out. It's good. Bring the lights back up. Thanks, PJ. That was really good. It was really, really good. It was really good. There's nothing like it, I'm telling you. Amen. Let's all stand. Did anyone have an observation that you want to share? Anything particular that you picked up on, or you just in the flow with it?
What I picked up on right at the end, when you start talking about the still water, in my life, I know oftentimes I have paid attention to the power that's in the rapid, the fast-moving water. But when you said that, the first imagery I got about the still water was when Simba was led to that still water, and it was only then that he could see his reflection, and he remembered who he was. He let that abide in him, which he had heard from the beginning.
You better preach, Pastor Fro. What he said, if you didn't hear the first part of it, what he was getting is that I said I love moving water. There's nothing like the ocean. And rivers have a whole other energy to them. Still water. I know there's that Lake Claramere. Ken likes to get pictures of it in Piedmont Park. He's always looking for when it's clear enough to get the reflection of the buildings, because that's what makes the beautiful picture. And what Fro is saying is the imagery of the Lion King when Simba looks into the water, and when it stops the rippling, and then suddenly he sees Mufasa looking back at him, and it's remember who you are. Yeah. Yeah, good. Anybody else? Okay, good stuff. Let's play this for the YouTube people, and then I'll speak a blessing over you. It's going to be a good month.
Contributing to Metron is quick and easy. Simply text the amount you would like to give to 404-620-5044. And now you can give anytime by texting this number. You will then receive a one-time registration form that links your phone number and opens your account at SimpleGive. Complete the form, and you will then receive a successful registration and donation page. For additional information on your account, visit bishandthenow.com and click the Support tab. Then, My Online Donation. When you contribute to Metron, you're also supporting the charity or organization of the month. Thank you for your investment in Metron.
If you have a check, make it to JESM, and Danny will receive it. If you have cash, pay it forward. I should have said something about this. Wellington, he speaks once a month at this place. That's why he's dressed up today. But also, his cousin, who's the president of Liberia. I should have said this last Sunday, but the week before was when all the nations were in for the United Nations, and his cousin, and I guess, do they call her the first lady? His wife? That's what they say. The same thing. There's a picture. Send it to Michelle, and we'll show it next week. It's him standing with President and First Lady. It's the four of them, but it's a big deal. Y'all better recognize when he doesn't let you in here. His cousin's the president of Liberia. You're going to have a really good week. Good things are coming to you. I said some things today I've never said before. So there's new words out there. So embrace them. Have a beautiful day. I love you so much. If you can, be here every Sunday this month, because I think this is going to build every week. And remember, 2 weeks from today, we'll be in Cherokee, North Carolina. All right? Peace. I love you.